What he just said has us on the edge of our seat as Kent Hughes spoke out about this incredible first few days of the off-season for Montreal, including the Dobson trade, the Bolduc acquisition, the other acquisitions, and what he said indicates that we are not even close to done yet. We got to break down what he said and the master plan that he is putting into place for this Montreal Canadiens organization and just how the moves make such specific sense for our team. We also got to go over a couple more signings that Montreal did make that we haven't had a chance to cover yet. A bunch of great stuff on this episode of Habs Digest, and we'll start with those signings, Jesse, because we've done lots of stuff today and yesterday, a lot of crazy stuff going down. Check out the videos earlier on Bolduc and on Blais and on Kahkonen, but we're going to expand on that a bit here. But also, first, got to talk about how we agreed on two different contracts, one with Alex Belzile, you might remember him, and Nate Clurman. Now, I don't have a ton to say about Nate Clurman, very much just a depth, right shot defenseman in the AHL. We know Reinbacher's ready to make that leap soon. We know Mailloux just got traded, so and again, Gustav Lindstrom also signed over in Europe. So you're losing a bunch of defensemen. You got to fill that void. Signing a guy like this just makes sense for that part, Jesse. And it also plays off to what we'll talk about later a bit. And like every single move that has been made this offseason has a very distinct and direct purpose. And I very much like that.
For sure. And again, this matters for an AHL team, the Laval Rocket, looking good last year, looking to win it all this year with Fowler in the fold, and definitely having that depth and obviously having some veteran presence on defense is going to matter a lot here going forward. We see here from Clurman, obviously he's played the vast majority of his career in the AHL. Yeah. Is definitely more of a defense first type of defenseman. That's okay. We got lots of offensive guys. Some pros in his game is he's a really great skater. And also really great character by all accounts. So it seems like it will be a really good fit in this locker room. And I like that the focus isn't just on the Montreal Canadiens, but also really keeping a strong club with the Laval Rocket in the AHL as well.
And we saw how much that paid dividends when these Laval Rocket guys were pushed a lot. When they took that jump to the NHL, they looked ready pretty much all the time. So very cool to have that veteran presence. Love the signing for Clurman. So hoping to see him play some really good minutes for Laval. But the other guy, we got to talk about our boy Alex Belzile. Welcome back, buddy. Spent a couple years in the Rangers org after being with Laval since 2018. Of course, he has always been a phenomenal AHL player, and during our injury-riddled 22-23 season, he had 14 points in 31 games for Montreal. Unless I'm wrong, Jesse, I'm pretty sure he played like first line for like at least a few minutes in a game. Like that season was crazy. But Alex Belzile, unreal AHL player. And like we're talking about Sammy Blais, like we signed him again earlier today as well. For AHL, not even depth, but like high-end AHL talent. We know, again, it's like there's a specific goal here. When you have so many guys that might be ready to make that leap soon, like an Owen Beck. Again, Joshua Waugh, we're not sure where he's going to start. Oliver Kapanen, probably going to start with the Habs, but we don't know. To have those high-end AHL guys, like we saw this year with Barré Boulet and Laurent Dauphin, these guys were so crucial in Laval's success. Bringing in more of them is just like almost trying to make a dynasty from top to bottom. So anyway, just really cool to see the Rivière-du-Loup native come back to the Habs org.
For sure. I was sad to see him go, but now I'm so happy to see him back. And after, again, a good offensive production, even though he's getting a little bit longer in the tooth at 33 years of age, this guy can still produce in the AHL for sure. 56 points in 66 games. Going to be a very good addition to this Laval Rocket team going forward. So, really happy to have him back.
Yeah, absolutely. Got a bit of an edge to his game now, too. So, really, really cool. We need to bring back those hospital Habs again. Anthony Richard, bring him back. And Joel Teasdale. Some names. But yeah, leave your thoughts on those guys down below. But like we said, Jesse, like we alluded to, this plays to something even bigger. And when we look at the signings made earlier today, again, Sammy Blais, and even the Zachary Bolduc trade, but Sammy Blais, Kaapo Kahkonen, every single move has a clear motive, right? Zachary Bolduc is a younger, better Emil Heineman in a lot of ways. He's like a couple inches shorter. He doesn't hit as much, but still hits a lot and has way higher upside in terms of goal scoring and defense. Kaapo Kahkonen, we lose Cayden Primeau, who just wasn't really working out with this org. We bring in a veteran goaltender to come in here. Sammy Blais, like I said, even replaces kind of a Michael Pezzetta. And when you look at the under 25 core, every single move Kent is doing, to me, this is the master plan. Like, replace the people that you're losing. You're losing Armia, you're losing Heineman in a trade, bring in a defensive guy who hits in Bolduc, right? You don't have a great right shot defenseman, you bring in Noah Dobson. You lose Michael Pezzetta to Toronto, which is absolutely disgusting. You bring in Sammy Blais. You need some AHL defensive help. You bring in a guy like Clurman. To me, Kent Hughes' plan is very clear. Replace what we need to replace. Bring in the pieces that improve our team. Again, Jesse, like I said, I feel like there hasn't been a single move where I've even questioned it for a second, and I think that's just such an insanely good thing.
For sure. And I think that the depth is in mind, especially with the Sammy Blais. but also there's probably the implications of the playoffs, of getting a team that could really be ready. And I see a Sammy Blais playing a fourth line role on a Montreal Canadiens team, making the playoffs. I really like this pickup. He was a good player during the regular season last year in the AHL. Played the majority of it with Abbotsford, 40 points in 51 games in the AHL. But really, it's when the playoffs got going that he turned it on. Sammy Blais was actually leading the entire AHL after the first two rounds in points here. And then again, just when it came to the finals, he just turned it on, 7 points in that finals there for Abbotsford to win it in 6 games. So I really like this addition. I just think those high energy type of pieces, those type of players that we really need, that know when to turn it on in those key moments. I think Zachary Bolduc, again, we're going to get into that a little bit more in the bigger picture, but I think he's being brought on with the playoffs in mind as well. And of course, Kaiden is kind of like, how do we kind of get there as well? And I think that's probably more, some people have him maybe competing with Dobesh, I think, for kind of that backup spot. I think Kapaden's probably going to start in the AHL. I think he'll probably be with Fowler there, and it'll be between them to really see who's going to get that call up going forward. But again, Kaiden, I really like that signing as well. Even though obviously he struggled to find his footing in the NHL, I think having that depth there and really still making Fowler kind of earn that starting spot in Laval. I mean, we know Jacob Fowler's up for a challenge, and I think it's good that they're bringing in somebody that's going to push him at the same time.
Yeah, I agree. And we thought Primeau was going to push him, and then Fowler came in, and Primeau just happened to kind of collapse as Fowler came in, even though Primeau was one of the best goalies in the league. And I think you're bang on with that assessment. I think it is going to be Kahkonen in the AHL, mainly because that contract, AAV, is enough that you can 100% bury it in the AHL, where you don't see that from the Habs side. And a one-way contract also just means that that's his salary no matter what. It doesn't matter if it's, NHL, AHL, he can just be buried there. So I think it'll make a lot of sense. And again, like you said, bolstering this lineup in ways we need physicality. Yeah, we lost Emil Heineman. Make him up in the aggregate. Well, I mean, Bolduc is better, but like still bringing a guy like Blais, bringing that physicality. These Quebecois guys, it's just working like crazy. But we got quotes from Kent as well. We still have work to do from here, from a management perspective, to get where we want to be. But I like the direction we're heading, and I like that. And to top this off, Jesse, the quote that we got here from Eric Engels from Kent Hughes, it's what has us on the edge of our seat, waiting for even more. It was always via trade over free agency that we'd attempt to improve at center. We haven't done it yet. We're ready to start the season with what we have, but we'll continue to work the phones. Now, first and foremost, this got a light a fire under Kirby Dach's butt, right? And we're still trying to find someone to replace him, basically, is what he's hearing, right? Which is fine. I think that's a good thing. He's been working out in the gym. He's in the best physical shape of his life, reportedly. But I like this too, right? With Granlund being gone, Granlund going to Anaheim on that 3-year deal, with Dvorak going to Philly, and all these other centers going to other places. Free agent centers, they're just not really a thing right now. And after the Bolduc trade, Jesse, I just can't wait to see what Kent can cook up, because I don't think he is going to hang up the phone, ever. I think he's going to keep calling, and like this Bolduc trade, stuff can materialize out of absolutely nowhere, and that's why I'm glued to my phone most of the day to see what Kent Hughes is up to.
And we have those assets to make it happen, and we're going to need to stay glued over the summer here. We'll have to see, but Kent is definitely going to pick the right time and make the right move for this team going forward. However, I like the groundwork that he's laid, Josh, that even though we do want to improve the team, there's even from today, the way that he's structured things, where if there's a situation where he's going to feel comfortable, and even us as Habs fans in a lot of ways, we'll feel stronger about this team going forward. Josh, I just can't help but thinking, after watching the recent presser from Zachary Bolduc, I just couldn't help kind of being left with the feeling that Kent Hughes is going to try him at 2C. What kept coming up in that conversation, really, when they were speaking about Zachary Bolduc and his presser after being traded to the Montreal Canadiens, was la volonté, like the will. Like you have to have the willpower on the ice. If you want to really make things happen, you first have to have that willpower to make it happen. For me, that was just like music to my ears. It just got me so excited. And I know that some people can maybe be thinking, okay, Zachary Bolduc, he's not quite a center, but you're bringing him in. Are you going to try him 2C? Like, is this Jonathan Drouin all over again?
No.
PSA to Habs fans, Zachary Bolduc is the complete opposite of Jonathan Drouin. They play the game completely different going forward. And I think that in a lot of ways, Bolduc, he's got the skill, again, with very little ice time, getting close to getting 20 goals this past year. I think he's got the mix of skill, but then also grit and sandpaper that you probably need on a line with Demidov to really get the best out of him. Is it maybe better, maybe having another kind of 2C there? Yeah, absolutely. But I think they made that move with that potential that we can look at it because he is super open to playing that position. And for me, if you have a 2C that's willing to kind of engage and be kind of proactive on the ice and go to those tough areas, that's what I'm looking for my centerman. If he can kind of do that, he's providing that goal scoring, some sandpaper to go along with it. Line is scoring at a click. You know, we could have the makings of a solid second line with what we have there. Again, not the ideal. I just see how that could be a potential hybrid solution in all this. However, we know Kent Hughes, he's going to stay cooking. He's chefing as we speak, and he's going to look to really get that 2C. But here. If we're not able to quite get that, I think there is some interesting things here with both. Like, am I crazy, Josh, with this take, or like, what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I can see where that is coming from. And honestly, like, because I do believe Bolduc did play some center in junior, right? Like, unless I'm mistaken. I'm pretty sure he was, like, pretty much always a center there in the queue. Remember, he had a 55 goal and a 50 goal season in the queue as a center. So the Blues didn't really try him at center. It's something he hasn't experimented with at the NHL level yet. But I'm down for it. Like, I mean, Kirby Dach, again, plays his best hockey, like, when he's a center, but his faceoffs are so bad, you know, it's tough. Newhook, a bit of the same stuff. Like, so trying Bolduc at center, I don't know if it's going to be their 1A plan to run Zach Bolduc at 2C heading straight into next season, because I'm sure, again, they'd rather a trade, or maybe Kirby, again, a bit more established, but, like, wouldn't shock me to see something like that, something creative happen, because there's a lot of ways you could structure this team. I'm sure Marty's going to be talking to all these guys. They're already talking amongst themselves to figure it out. I like that take a lot, actually, Jesse. It could be a very interesting twist on this whole situation that makes, like, if we look in a year and, like, Bolduc is our 2C and Mailloux, even if he's successful in St. Louis, it's like, he never would have done that here because he would have been blocked out. Could be very, very interesting. But listen, leave your thoughts on everything down below. Zachary Bolduc 2C, is Kent even done? There's so much to discuss. We'd love to hear from you, but that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. So much more coming all off season long. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.